Before we begin our journey into the world of rare coins and forgotten history, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on all notifications so you never miss a story that brings old treasures back to life. Every week, we uncover the mysteries behind coins that once passed through ordinary hands, but today command extraordinary respect. Now let's settle in, take a quiet breath, and step back nearly 7 decades into a world that shaped one of the rarest pieces of South African small denomination currency ever struck, the 1955 South Africa quarter penny. There is something about older men, seasoned collectors, lifelong historians, or simply gentlemen who appreciate the craftsmanship of earlier generations that makes us stop and look a little longer at an old coin. It is not just metal. It is time, memory, and meaning pressed into a tiny circle that outlives everyone who ever handled it. And today's coin is one that many experts consider a ghost of colonial-era minting, quietly produced, quickly overshadowed, and almost entirely forgotten until collectors rediscovered its importance decades later. The 1955 South Africa quarter penny belongs to a series first introduced during a period when the country was transitioning from earlier designs into modernized coinage. The quarter penny itself was never a widely used denomination. In fact, most citizens never held one. It was meant primarily to ease small commercial transactions in an economy that was still adjusting to shifting political identity and domestic industry. But as often happens, the coin lasted only a few years before it was ultimately discontinued. Its small size and low value made it vulnerable to loss, damage, and lack of interest. People simply didn't keep them. And that, gentlemen, is where rarity begins. Imagine a time when businesses were moving toward mechanized processes and minting technology was struggling to maintain precision for tiny denominations like this. The quarter penny was especially challenging to strike cleanly because of its thin planchet and narrow design fields. Even minor flaws or inconsistencies made many pieces unfit for circulation. As a result, fewer clean specimens were released than official records suggest. When you handle one today, you are holding a survivor, one of the few that slipped through the mint's scrutiny. But the special intrigue of the 1955 issue goes deeper. The mid-50s marked a transition in metal sourcing and production standards at the South African Mint. The country was dealing with supply changes, and several denominations, including the quarter penny, were being tested with slightly altered striking pressure and die preparation. These small adjustments created subtle but distinct characteristics on the 1955 pieces: stronger peripheral detail, sharper legend edges, and a slightly more defined portrait. To a casual observer, these features might not stand out, but to a trained collector's eye, especially the kind of man who has spent years examining coins under magnification, they matter tremendously. And speaking of collectors, this particular coin carries a special place among those who appreciate overlooked denominations. It is not as famous as gold sovereigns or historic pounds, yet its scarcity and its role in transitional minting gives it a unique presence. Older collectors often say that the charm of this coin is not in its material worth, but in its story. This was a coin that lived in the background of history. It never wanted glory. It simply served. And in doing so quietly, it became rare. Picture a gentleman in the 1960s sitting at his desk with a wooden tray of coins, a magnifying lens in hand, sorting through what others saw as pocket change. He pauses. He notices the fine lines on the 1955 quarter penny, the clean rim, the crisp details. Maybe he sets it aside without realizing how valuable it will one day become. That's how numismatic legends begin, not with fanfare, but with patience and an eye for quality. Fast forward to today. Collectors in their 50s, 60s, and 70s often speak passionately about coins like this because they bridge the era of their fathers and grandfathers. These coins were in circulation during the youth of many older men. Owning one now feels like touching a piece of their own early life or the stories their parents used to recount. That emotional connection is a powerful force behind demand. And when demand meets rarity, value rises in ways that surprise even seasoned experts. Another remarkable aspect is how seldom this coin appears in high-grade condition. Many of the surviving pieces show heavy wear, corrosion, or damage from decades of storage in damp containers or open drawers. The few that remain sharp, original, and well-preserved are fiercely contested whenever they surface. The bidding becomes intense, often turning into a duel of determination between collectors who know they may never get another chance. Over the last several years, awareness of rare small-denomination coins has grown significantly. As high-value gold coins become harder to obtain, collectors turn their attention to scarce bronze and copper issues from the mid-20th century. The 1955 quarter penny sits at the top of that list because it combines low mintage survival, transitional mint history, attractive design, and increasing interest from international buyers. And as collectors age, many seek to complete sets they started decades earlier. The missing piece is often this little coin. That alone pushes its prestige higher with each passing year. When a coin stands at the intersection of rarity, historical context, aging collector interest, and international desirability, extraordinary prices become possible. And that brings us to the moment you've been waiting for. After all the stories, after all the decades of quiet existence, after being overlooked by millions, one superb example of the 1955 South Africa quarter penny has now reached a value so astonishing that it has stunned even experts. Today, the estimated upper-end value for an exceptional specimen of this coin has climbed to an incredible $11 million.